Sammy Wilson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I know that there is an attempt by the SDLP and indeed by others to try and derail what has been agreed by parties in the Fresh Start document. And the motion which we have before us today is an attempt to do that, and also shows the kind of inconsistencies which have existed since this impasse was reached in the Northern Ireland Assembly. We support the programme motion today because we want this issue dealt with, and we want it dealt with quickly. And we want it dealt with for three reasons. The first reason is this, that despite what has been said by the member for Foyle, there is an urgency in terms of the financial consequences which delay has for Northern Ireland. And it is not just the hemorrhaging of money to the Treasury on a daily basis because of the differences that there are in benefit rates in Northern Ireland and benefit rates in other parts of the United Kingdom. And I've got to say, it is not unfair of the Treasury either to be asking for this money. The parity principle was always based on when there were changes in welfare and benefits in the rest of the United Kingdom, although it had been devolved to Northern Ireland, provided Northern Ireland replicated and reflected the changes that occurred in the rest of the United Kingdom, the payments of benefits were made in full by the Treasury, not as part of the block grant, but as part of the annually managed expenditure. But it was always clear that if Northern Ireland decided it wanted the luxury of having a different system, and the Secretary of State has indicated that the problems with that was caused, then the difference had to be paid. And when the SDLP and others blocked welfare reform changes in Northern Ireland, they knew what the penalty was. Yes. And the penalty is being paid today and will be paid tomorrow and every day that there is delay, and that has impacted on the amount of money for dealing with hospital waiting lists, for schools, roads and all of the rest. And indeed, there's another problem that has arisen as a result of that. It is not just the money which is hemorrhaging to the Treasury, it is also the fact that there has now been an impasse in the rest of the budget. And so money which should have been allocated as a result of monitoring rounds, budgets which should have been set, were not able to be set, and we were heading for a budget overspend, which would have brought devolution to a halt, because you can't have devolution if you have no money to pay for departments and the work of departments and the expenses which departments incur.
Thank you for giving way. Does the member also accept that the sooner we get this done, the sooner we can get an application back to the Treasury to reclaim back some of those overpayments?
I don't think there's any chance of reclaiming some of those overpayments. I wish that there was, but there isn't. Unfortunately, we have to pay. So that's the first reason, that this issue needs to be dealt with as a matter of urgency today, and we support the government in having the limited time. The second one is this, that we have already had a debate on this in Northern Ireland. Indeed, I have listened to the member for West Belfast from the party of the member for Foyle, Mr Atwood, for about 60 hours in the Northern Ireland Assembly, while he went through all his opposition and give us fanciful ideas as to how we could avoid having to implement welfare reform in Northern Ireland. So,
But in fairness, this is about the allocation of time. I'm a bit bothered that we're going to tempt other members. I know that it's building the basis, but what I'm bothered about, other members are going to start coming on the same issues. Because really, what I want to be able to do is get everybody into the depth of the bill. Sammy Wilson.
I hope I'm being relevant here, Mr Deputy Speaker, because the relevance is this, that we don't need extensive debate here in this chamber, because there has been extensive debate and decisions made in Northern Ireland. And here's the irony. Here's the irony, that only last week the SDLP were arguing that there shouldn't be a legislative consent motion because this was something that ought to, the welfare reform was something which ought to be decided in Northern Ireland. Now that the bill has been passed here, the bill as agreed by the parties in Northern Ireland and as shaped by the parties in Northern Ireland, the SDLP are wanting members of this chamber to change it. They can't have it. They can't have it both. The majority of members in the Assembly. That's the important thing. So they can't argue one time that they don't want anyone else to have their sticky fingers on welfare reform, and then when it comes here, they argue, oh, the House of Commons should make the decision and override the wishes of the Northern Ireland Assembly. And for that reason, we support the government having a programme motion which quickly deals with this, and indeed which does not allow amendments from the floor of the House to change the
will of the
bill. And so we want the will of the Assembly to be reflected. The Secretary of State knows what the will of the Assembly is. The bill has come here reflecting the views of the majority of people in the Assembly, and therefore we should get it done with, and get it done with quickly tonight.
Margaret.